There are two men in my career, in 40 years, that I could hardly wait until the next word spilled from their lips. One was Nathan Pritikin. The other one died 2 months ago. His name, Henry Heimlich. Henry Heimlich, yeah. Anyway, the world lost Henry Heimlich at age 96 in December. I knew Dr. Heimlich. Let me introduce you to Dr. Heimlich.
I'd like you to meet my good friend, Dr. Henry Heimlich.
Well, first of all, what you're doing is you push upward on the diaphragm. Mm-hmm. That goes up into the chest, makes the chest smaller, and that gently compresses the lungs. There's no pressure buildup. It's just a flow of air, and that carries out what the Heimlich maneuver is for. It carries with it either the foreign body, the food, the water out of the lung and drowning, or the mucus out.
Or the toy.
Or the toy.
Exactly.
I
have a child.
You put your arms around the choking or drowning person. Mm-hmm. You feel for the bottom of the rib cage, and you make a fist, and look at this nice knob on the thumb side of the fist. You put that just above the belly button, lower than most people
think. That's lower than I thought.
Right.
I thought it was higher, but then you could break a rib if you didn't go so low.
That's correct.
Okay.
And it wouldn't do as much good.
This is fun. I kind of like it.
But your husband is here. You then press in one motion, inward and upward, like so. And that causes the flow of air, which carries away the object. There's no pressure buildup, you see, just the flow of air. So there's no pressure inside the lung.
Does it ever not work the first time? Does someone ever have to do a second?
Absolutely.
A second pull?
Right, mainly because they haven't done it before usually.
And you get scared. It's a panic situation.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you must learn to do it in the lying down position because people are unconscious or drowning and you're using it. Again, the person just lying on their back and you kneel across their thighs and you press in the same place. Do exactly the same thing.
And it'll come right up, just like
now,
the water.
children save their parents that way. The youngest child to save another child, by the way, was 4 years old. Oh. And they can save them even if they can't reach around because they use their body weight and press it in.
Any precautions?
No, basically,
Real safe.
Just do it.
Okay. So there's a whole story that goes along with this. And Henry Heimlich, as you probably gathered, not only was he my mentor, but he was my friend. And we shared many things, and you can read about this. It's all on the internet. But this simple maneuver to save people from almost dying from cafe coronaries and from drowning, near drowning, this simple maneuver, cost-free, was fought by the American Heart Association and the Red Cross. They continued. There was a slight change in wave at one time, like when C. Everett Koop came out and said, "Stop this. You must do the Heimlich maneuver." That was a bad day for the Red Cross, the American Heart Association. They had been recommending that what you do is back slaps, which they do today. They'll tell you if somebody's choking or drowning, you first give them several back slaps. If that doesn't save them, then you do the Heimlich maneuver. Well, what Dr. Heimlich had told me then, which is true now, is that no one has ever been saved by back slaps. As a matter of fact, back slapping causes the object to be further lodged in the trachea airways. C. Everett Koop said, "Stop it." Now, the Lifeguard Association used to teach the Heimlich maneuver for near drowning. And the way Henry, and by the way, I never called him Henry, it was always Dr. Heimlich. What Dr. Heimlich told me is this had been going on for a long time. He said the way that the lifeguards save drowning victims is they would go out in the water and get them, throw them over to their shoulder, and run up the beach, and the water would come out of their lungs. And I said, well, that's probably like what I was taught when I was a student. You do, you push on the back and then you go pull on the arms. He says, yeah, that'll get the water out of the lungs too, John. He said, but what you have to do is you have to get the water out of the lungs. No matter how much CPR, no matter how hard you blow, into somebody's lungs, if they're full of water, a liter or so of water, you can't save them. Does that make sense? Right now, the Red Cross, the American Heart Association, tell you not to do the Heimlich maneuver for near drowning. Tell you to do back slaps. In other words, like then, as Dr. Heimlich and I would discuss, they are killing people. Now, why would they do that? Well, if they admitted that back slaps kill people, and that's what they've taught for decades, then they'd have to admit that they were killing people. That's too hard for a lot of folks to do, is to say you're wrong. So it was primarily egos. I don't know that any money was involved. And they're back now, by the way. They teach lifeguards to not do the Heimlich maneuver, that you should not do the Heimlich maneuver for somebody with a liter plus of water in their lungs. You should just blow into their water-filled lungs. Bizarre, huh? Anyway, Dr. Heimlich, he was right here on stage. This, by the way, is when I started filming Advanced Study Weekends. It was when Dr. Heimlich stood here, same audience, no cameras. And I walked up to Dr. Heimlich and I said, you know, you must have been filmed 100 times. He said, nobody has ever filmed me, John. I said, that will never happen again. And so I began with the next Advanced Study Weekend fully filming every presentation so that we didn't lose history. Anyway, Norman Vincent Peale, you know, the power of positive thinking, yes. He said Henry Heimlich saved the lives of more human beings than any other person living today. In two ways, not just the Heimlich maneuver, but something else. One of my greatest honors in life is that when Dr. Heimlich got sick, he came to me for help. He attended my program in 1992. He died at 96. You could do the math. What's it, 25 years? Whatever. I'd like to think I helped him get those extra years. Yes, I would. So here's Dr. Heimlich standing on stage. If he'd have been here right now, he'd have given every one of you that kind of hug. He was that kind of a man. The first thing Dr. Heimlich was known for, and there have been 4 million of these at least sold, probably 10 million, but the last data I have is 4 million, and whenever we are in war times, which seems to be always, on the battlefield, soldiers are shot and, of course, die. But most with chest wounds died because they couldn't get to a hospital. So they'd have an open chest cavity and they couldn't breathe. You don't have any hospital setting, ventilators or anything to save these people, these men on the battlefield, and nowadays women. You have no way to save them. And so what Dr. Heimlich invented, and I say the last time I looked, there were over 4 million. They're probably, considering the state of the world today, more than 10 million sold, is the Heimlich chest valve, which is based on the fart whistle. You know, your grandkids or kids, you know, they have this little thing, they make this noise, yeah? And the air goes out, and then the rubber part collapses so the air can't go in. And so what they do with this chest valve is you have a wounded soldier on the battlefield. You patch up his or her wound the best you can, and then you take a fart whistle, a Heimlich chest valve, and you stick it in their chest, and every breath they take reinflates the lung. So that's one of the reasons Henry Heimlich has saved more lives than any human being living today, or in the 20th century, because of the Heimlich chest valve. The other reason is because you really need to know this maneuver. And you need to not listen to the bad guys, the liars. You've got to stop doing this for your sake or your family's sake.